G'day and welcome to Wellywood Wargaming. My name is Damon, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at all of the best boxes, kits and bits that you can find in the entirety of the Citadel Miniature Games Workshop range for use in your Necromunda kit bashes and conversion projects. Every model is a Necromunda model. That is indeed true, and that is my favourite thing about Necromunda in general. The ability to customise, add flavour and narrative spin to your gangs and create these beautiful miniatures that actually tell a story on the table. You can use literally any model to an appropriate scale, I suppose, and as long as it's WYSIWYG to a certain degree, to represent anything that you want to play in Necromunda, and that is the beauty of the game. Sometimes I think, though, if you're new to Necromunda, this can be a bit daunting. If you haven't ever kit bashed or converted anything before, this is a good sort of starting point to give you some ideas about some of the kits that I think are invaluable to have in your bits boxes for use in those Necromunda conversions. Before I get started, though, please do like, share, subscribe, and check out the Patreon as well if you'd like to support me further. The first kit we're going to talk about here is an absolute cornerstone in conversion and kit bashing. This is, of course, the GSC Neophyte Hybrid box. This box has 10 miniatures in it. The actual miniatures themselves, the bodies of the hybrids, these guys have been out for a long time, by the way, but it still remains, I think, one of the best looking kits in the 40k range. Genestealer Cult models just look fantastic. These guys are just an absolute treasure trove of excellent bits of kit and weapons and gubbins that you can use in your games of Necromunda. The overall aesthetic of the hazard suit lends to a sort of hive scum automatically. Of course, you can use these guys as Genestealer Cult in the game of Necromunda, but the bodies themselves, with minor adjustments, a few chops here and there, removing the Genestealer Cult icons from the belts and stuff, is really easy to do, and these are ready-made for your underhive. Not only do we have an absolute ton of auto guns, auto pistols, shotguns, and the like, we've also got some heavy weapons in here with seismic cannons, mining lasers, and heavy stubbers, as well as lots of backpacks, some really interesting close combat weapons with power picks, power mauls, chainswords. We've even got bolt pistols, hand flamers, and of course the mighty web gun, as well as a grenade launcher in there too. So pretty much every weapon that you'd need in most sort of common Necromunda gangs is represented in this kit, and that is why the Genestealer Neophyte box is such an important one to have. If you don't have this already and you're new to Necromunda, go pick yourself up a box of this. You will not regret it. These are really easy to use and really easy on your sort of early conversion and kit bashing journey. The next one in the Genestealer Cult range, and again for similar reasons, is the Atalan Jackal kit. This comes with 4 guys on dirt bikes. Those dirt bikes can of course be used in Necromunda, and in fact at the moment is the only source for dirt bikes for Necromunda. We also have the Wolf Quad in there as well, which has a mining laser on the back. This kit is also excellent because you can use the arms and the bodies on your regular gangers. We've got sawn-off shotguns, axes, even wrenches, and some really cool looking heads with bandanas and whatnot in there as well. If you're playing Ash Wastes games though, this is an absolutely vital box to pick up because you're pretty much always going to want a dirt bike here or there. Further into the 40k range, and something that should be fairly obvious, is of course the Astra Militarum stuff. There is a lot of this, and the Cadian Command Squad is one of the best kits that you can get. Again though, it just has tons of options in it. You only get 5 models, and you're probably not going to use these bodies for general sort of hive scum and stuff, but the arms, we have lots of close combat options and lots of really interesting little bits and accessories that you can get in this kit that really do lend a bit more flavour to your gangs. We have las weapons, we have power fists, we have some weapons that you don't get in the Genestealer Neophyte box, which work really well and fit onto those types of bodies as well. Not only the Cadian Command Squad though, we've also got the Cadian Upgrade Sprue, which has some really cool bare heads in it, as well as some helmeted ones, which can add further flavour to your gangs as well. Further into the Astra Militarum line is the Tempesta Scions, and again this is a really old kit here, but I've kit bashed this kit successfully with the Genestealer Neophytes and hybridized, see the pun there, with these Scions pretty well. They fit together nicely, it's the same scale, and these are just really nice elite looking models that you could use as Venators perhaps, or bounty hunters in your game as well. These guys are armed in what appears to be light carapace armor. The helmets are gorgeous and work really well for an alternate sort of enforcer, Palanite enforcer look. I think these helmets actually look better than the helmets you get with your enforcers, so that's another option for you there too. You could even just use these guys as enforcers perhaps. In terms of the weaponry though, we've we've got loads and loads of choice in here. Some really nice special weapons, including sort of melter guns, plasma guns, and grenade launchers, as well as some hotshot weapons too, which is really important to have if you're going to upgrade those las guns to hotshot weapons. Bunch of close combat weapons in here as well. Of course, the power fist and chainsword represented, as well as a few pistols and even some medic stuff in there as well. Another really, really good kit that I think is definitely a good addition to your kit bashing projects. The next one is the Gaunt's Ghosts box, which I do think is particularly flavorful. This one would require a little bit more modification, but you've got some interesting looking characters in unique poses here that, with a little bit of a snip or two, can really fit into Necromunda, as well as an elite sort of Venator or bounty hunter sort of gang. Of course, Gaunt himself is most definitely a commissar, and you're not going to see those on Necromunda too much, but the other members of this squad are really fantastic additions to your Necromunda projects, and not least the auto cannon that's in there as well. I believe it's an auto cannon. I think this is the only sort of decent scale auto cannon you can actually get, really, other than getting really chunky sort of weapons that you can get with your Space Marines and whatnot. This one fits a lot better into the sort of scale of Necromunda. So that's another really nice kit that you can use there. Of course, there isn't really much naturally growing wood in Necromunda, I believe, so you might want to chop the wooden branches out and maybe replace them with mushrooms or something similar, or even girders of steel and things like that as well, just to make them fit more in that Necromunda setting. The next one is a kill team, but we're going to talk about kill teams a bit later on, because this is also available for your, your Imperial agents here. And this, of course, is the Inquisitorial Retinue, a fantastic box. And I think when this came out, everybody, including myself, who likes to kit bash and do conversions, was very, very excited about this box. Now, it is a bit of a shame you only get 6.5, 7 miniatures in here, but if you buy 2 boxes of this, you have 2 entirely different sort of kit outs that you can give them. You have a servitor in here, which could be used as your Orlok lugger, perhaps, with either a heavy bolter or a multi-melter, and just it's cool to have a servitor model, right? We've also got the guy with the spear over the shoulder there. He can be done differently, and all of these guys have multiple weapon choices and some really, really cool options that you can add to your Necromunda existing stuff. Further into the 40k range, we have some chaos stuff, and this is where you're going to do your cult gangs. If you've got a gang that you want to convert to chaos, or indeed a chaos helot gang as well, the first place to go is with the chaos cultist kit. There is a chaos cultist kit which all has close combat weapons and pistols, all pretty much auto pistols, mauls, clubs, and lots of crude looking weapons, and the bodies for these guys and the poses are just fantastic. This kit on its own could totally be de-chaos as well. You could get rid of the little chaos stars on these guys and make them look like just your regular scummers. A few head swaps here and there as well can really add to the flavor of this one. So that's another great kit to add to it there, as well as the Khorne Jackal kit, which is another fantastic kit here, much more close combat focused and very, very cornate, but these guys could easily be used as Goliath Juves perhaps, and I've seen people using them as this as well. We've also got the really chunky leader in there, lots and lots of chain weapons, chain axes, which are a fantastic weapon in Necromunda, and you don't get that many chain axes in 40k range generally that fit into a smaller scale that isn't a Space Marine. So this is a really nice place to get those chain weapons, chain swords, chain glaives, chain axes, you name it, you got it in the Jackal kit, and those bodies can be used really well for either Chaos Cultists or Goliaths or similar. The next range in 40k that is definitely very, very important for you kit bashers out there is, of course, the AdMech stuff, Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, these guys are fantastic. You can get the Skitarii kit, which is the basic sort of troopers for their army. These guys have lots and lots of long rifles, so these long rifles can be used in Necromunda as well. And again, there aren't too many long rifles in the game that aren't either sort of Forge World or similar. You've got one sniper rifle with the Enforcers and stuff, but it doesn't fit too well with other kits. Here is where you got your long rifles. You've also got some interesting energy weapons and, of course, close combat weapons in here as well. The heads are fantastic, both options of the sort of hoplite sort of guys and the hooded bionic heads there as well. You can use the limbs as bionic limbs, and this kit, again, the same sort of scale as your Genestealer Neophytes can be combined with them too. these heads on neophyte bodies, for example, can look pretty nice too, and I've done that as well in some conversions you can see here too. The next one, and one of my absolute favorite kits, and one that I've utilized a lot, is the AdMech Rust Stalkers, or whatever they're called in the other version. But these have two options to build them as well. We have a hooded version and a gas masked goggled version of these guys. They've got very long sort of robotic legs that you can use to make some really interesting sort of grim, dark, disgusting cyborg parts like murder cyborgs and whatnot. But the heads in this picture I've used on my Delac, and they just look fantastic with my Delac gang. I was really happy with how those came out. We've got some really cool energy weapons and close combat sort of power sword variants that you could use, as well as little backpacks and further gubbins to add to your massive and growing kit box by now. Moving on to Horus Heresy now, the Solar Auxilia box is particularly good. You get an absolute ton of guys in here. I think it's 20 guys with some really unique bodies with what looks like either sort of heavy flak or layered flak or even light carapace armor in here as well. Some really good las weapon options, and again, more really cool helmets to add to your sort of AdMech crossover neophyte stuff that you've already got by this point. So this is another really great box, and again, it's to scale, it's plastic, and it's just a really good addition to your ever-growing bits box. Now, I don't play Kill Team because personally I don't particularly like the rules. However, the miniatures are absolutely fantastic, and there are an absolute ton of different kill teams that you can use in Necromunda. In fact, pretty much all of them, minus perhaps the Space Marines and a couple of key others. The ones that I wanted to point out here, though, that are just ready to go without much help at all, is of course the Arbites. The Adeptus Arbites here are the Arbos, as they're also called in Australia. These guys are amazing. They are a great alternative, of course, to your Enforcers. I mean, from a lore perspective, Arbites aren't really going to be seen in the Underhive too much, but you can combine this kit with other things and use them, you know, as sort of upgraded Enforcers, Venators, or even Bounty Hunters as well. But this kit oozes style. We have a doggy in here, you know, a Cyber Mastiff that has a little bit of a different aesthetic to some of the others. This could be used as a hard case Cyber Mastiff, and we've got some really unique sort of weapon options in there as well. A sort of sniper rifle, a medic looking guy, a dude with handcuffs and a maul, and lots of really chunky, nice looking shotguns, as well as, of course, lots of carapace armored, tough looking guys that could certainly fit into Judge Dredd very well. So again, that's why they're suitable for Necromunda. Several other kits in the Kill Team range are excellent as well. We have the Genestealer Brood Brothers, which just further adds to that neophyte kit that you've got with some excellent weapon options. These guys are a little bit more military feel than they are with the hazmat suits, so the bodies might not quite be as suitable as they look like regular sort of issue soldiers, but these could be a sort of house guard or something. And again, you've got some fantastic head options and close combat weapon options, as well as a plethora of easy to snip and use las guns as well, which is important there. I love this Kill Team. The Bloodied is a fantastic box that you can get from Kill Team. It pretty much has everything in here that you'd need for a cult gang, and I've used this box straight out of the box with a couple of minor twists as my cult helot gang in Necromunda. Not only do you get the awesome looking mutated Oghren miniature that you can use in Necromunda here as well, as is straight out of the box without any weapon snipping or anything. You've also got some excellent looking, really characterful guys in here. I particularly love the sort of bikey helmets that you've got in here with the you know, the masks over the front. We've got the Butcher in there and a bunch of really cool looking close combat weapons that are just absolutely oozing Necromunda flair. We've got some really good special weapons in here as well. A sort of like excellent looking grenade launcher, as well as a plasma gun, melter gun, flamer and whatnot as well. This is a fantastic kit and definitely a great addition to your bits box. Now, of course, all your miniatures don't have to be human. They can certainly be Xenos as well, but I thought I'd focus on the more human sort of shapes or semi-ab-human shapes here. The next and last kill team that I'm going to talk about here quickly is the Navy Breachers. This team is fantastic, has a couple of little servitors and servo skulls that you can use in there, which is important for Necromunda, but you also have some nice, big, juicy fire axes, some interesting pistols, some close quarter combat shotguns, bolt weapons, and of course a big riot shield in there as well. You even got a sort of medic looking dude in here too, and yeah, this one oozes style. It really is a nice team, and they're really unique looking. We haven't seen anything like this in 40k until this point. The armor and everything they're wearing is excellent, and again, With a couple of little scratches, you can definitely file off some of the Imperial insignia and just make these guys look like they are doing the plumbing down in the Underhive or something. Moving on to other game systems here, we have Warhammer Quest, and the first one I wanted to talk about is, of course, Blackstone Fortress. Blackstone Fortress is a solo boxed game. It is a fantastic game, by the way, if you haven't played it yet. It's basically just an advanced version of Hero Crest, pretty much. But the models that you get in this box make this box very, very much worthwhile. You get all the heroes in here. We've got a Kroot, we've got an Ecclesiarchy, sort of zealot with a Eviscerator. We've got the Iron Sentinel in here, which you can use as an illegal brute in your games. We have a Navigator. We've got two little Rattlings in here, which are really good additions for Necromunda, as well as Janus Drake and even an Eldar in here as well, which is cool. But honestly, for bang for buck, this one just comes with an absolute ton of miniatures. All of the bad guys in here could be used as well. We've got a couple of Chaos Psykers that are sort of floating with chains. Those are great witches for your Chaos Helot cults as well. A couple of Beastmen in there, and of course a bunch of similar models that fit into your Bloodied models there as well. I've used these two kits combined, and they're just an excellent addition to the Bloodied to further carry on your Chaos Cult or, you know, Venator gangs or even Outcast gangs as well. You can even use the Urguls and the sort of Sentinels that you get in here, as well as Greeblies in your games of Necromunda 2, and fit them in somewhere. Moving from science fiction to fantasy now, we have the Cursed City Warhammer Quest box as well. This is very similar to Blackstone Fortress in that it has an absolute mass of miniatures in it. The amount of plastic you get in this box is ridiculous, and they are some of the best sculpts I've ever seen. They are magnificent. The heroes here look brilliant. We've got an ogre here, a sort of wood elf, the guy in the middle, the sort of with the dueling pistol and the sword. I can't remember what his name is, but he makes a great sort of Uphive noble or even a rebel lord or something. And of course, the absolutely awesome looking witch hunter in there as well, which does add a bit more flavor. You could just swap out some of these guns for slightly more futuristic looking auto weapons or las weapons. This is a pretty easy thing to do with a lot of fantasy miniatures. Just give them a little sort of holstered pistol or some grenades somewhere, and you can immediately slot them onto a Necromunda base and you are good to go. The baddies in this as well, while not as easy to use in Necromunda, the zombies certainly could be used as plague zombies or even brain leaf zombies as well. But I've seen people using this kit for 40k and Necromunda conversions pretty well. You just need to do a little bit more chopping and filing and futuristicizing for these bad guys in Cursed City. But again, fantastic value, bang for buck. You get a lot of miniatures here, so this is nice. Age of Sigmar now. There are an absolute ton of beautiful miniatures in Age of Sigmar. All of the sort of more recent stuff that they've done has been just gorgeous, particularly the Cities of Sigmar stuff. The Cities of Sigmar command unit that you get here is an excellent one for Necromunda. It's very, very grimdark. It's very Mordheim, actually. The big guy with the axe there can be built in a number of different ways. We've got the assassin-looking dude who could look really nice as an addition in your Delac gangs as well, perhaps as a Nachtgul or something similar. We also have what looks like a sort of mage or a witch, and he's pretty cool as well as a psyker in your Outcast gangs or something too. So the Cities of Sigmar stuff, the actual general sort of town troopers or whatever they're called, with the shields and the close combat weapons and the helmets, the steel helms I believe they're called, are an excellent addition as well. Again, the same sort of scale as your Hive Scum and stuff, and the arms fit onto Hive Scum bodies pretty well. So again, you could go slightly more medieval aesthetic with some of these guys as an addition, and they're just a really nice kit to use as a sort of feudal science fiction looking sort of gang that you can put together out of these guys. I really like the axes, the mauls, and the swords that you get with these as well. Of course, you could just chuck away the shields, or you could even use them as scrap shields as well, which is an option for Necromunda, but there you go, food for thought. The next game system we're going to talk about, and I believe, honestly, in terms of plastic miniatures, probably the best range that Games Workshop has done alongside Kill Team is, of course, Warcry, and the bespoke warbands that you get. What I mean by that is the sort of in-the-box, stylized warbands that you get for Warcry are so good. Of course, many of them have now been kind of discontinued, which is a bit of a shame, but you have some absolutely beautiful miniatures here. The Corvus Cabal, I've seen many people use. As soon as those came out, I made them into a Chaos Helot gang, as you can see here. But the Scions of the Flame and the sort of Nurgle dudes could also fit into sort of Cawdor gangs with all the rags and stuff, or even Redemptionist gangs there with the flames there too. But these gangs could easily fit into Necromunda. I've done quite a few conversions with Warcry kits. I even did a bunch of pit slaves based on the tyrants of the Spire Tyrants, I believe they're called. Here are my pit slaves as well, which I was really happy with. I just gave them a few Goliath bits, a few Orlok bits and whatnot, and they came out really, really good. So yeah, the Warcry stuff is definitely a fantastic sort of place to look if you can get hold of some of those bespoke warbands, because a lot of the way that Warcry seems to be going is into Age of Sigmar, which is a bit of a shame, because honestly, the bespoke bands are far better than all of the Age of Sigmar stuff, if you ask me. The last place that you might want to look is Blood Bowl, in fact. And what we've got here is the Blood Bowl Humans, the Blood Bowl Chaos, and the Norse in particular, I think are really, really nice additions. You could use the Khorne Blood Bowl team. You could even use the Halfling Blood Bowl team as some unique looking ratlings and stuff. But what I like to use the Blood Bowl kits for, not only is for dynamic poses and bodies and unique helmets and such, but you get lots of open hands. Now that is something that is really hard to find in 40k miniatures in general, open hands. I wish Games Workshop would just do a kit of sort of, 32mm open hands, because it would sell so well. But this is really the place to go to for those open hands. Of course, you probably want to dispense with the American footballs or the Blood Bowl football, but the sort of hands with knuckle dusters, hands with open pointing and things like that, you can get some really cool looking hands here. The Chaos team, I've actually used a lot of these Beastmen for my Beastmen Enforcer gang. That was a fairly easy conversion to do. I just combined it with Palanite Enforcers, chopped the legs off, and sort of bit of green stuff here and there, and hey presto, you have a really nice Beastman Bad Zone Enforcer gang. The big guys could fit easily into Goliath sort of size. They are chunky and muscular enough to look pretty Goliath as well, so that's another option there. The Norse could easily be used as Hive Scum, or even, Cawdor bits or Orlok bits, you name it. There's so many options here, and I think the Blood Bowl kits are generally pretty good value. A couple of hand snips and little pouches and grenades and whatnot can make these guys look pretty futuristic. Now, I reiterate, every model is indeed a Necromunda model, and as you've just seen, those are just scratching the surface of your conversion and kit bashing journey, should you want to go down that rabbit hole, because trust me, it is definitely a rabbit hole. You're going to end up with a huge bit box, but it's awesome when you can just go into that box, pull a few bits out from various different kits, and make up a really cool looking Hive Scum and his own little story and his own little narrative. That really is the most beautiful thing about Necromunda. Anyway, there are so many other kits to talk about. If I've left any out, then do comment down below if you believe there are some kits that I might have just sort of skimmed over a little bit there. I'm sure there are many, many more. There's lots of Xenos and monsters and pets and things that you can draw from as well, but I think that's it for now anyway, and I'll be back with another video real soon. Peace out.